You're listening to another episode of Two Babies in a Business, where Peter and I are tackling topics of all sorts and giving, our perspective when it comes to being business owners, being parents, being married, amongst it all, being partners in all senses. Hi.
Well, I'm excited. I added some topics to the box today, so we'll see what we get.
Some topics for the back. I know it's bad, but I know.
No lucky.
Yeah, mine are blue and yours are green, so it's another blue one, but it's an interesting one. The topic I pulled out of our box is quitting.
Okay.
Quitting.
Quitting.
Yeah. Quitting. Well, I feel like starting at a very obvious. We both quit very I don't want to say very great jobs, because that seems like a weird qualifier, but like very comfortable jobs.
Yeah, comfortable jobs. Yeah. Well-paying jobs. Nice titled jobs.
Yeah.
Fancy sounding jobs. I mean, honestly, and I'm gonna just say this, I think certainly I'll speak to me. I didn't quit a job. I quit a boss. And so that was I think that's I think what most people do. Honestly, they don't really quit. Well, sometimes they quit a job, but often they quit the leadership, the culture, the boss, right. I mean, it's really the environment that you quit. And to me, it just wasn't a fit anymore. A new person came in to run the organization, and I just didn't see eye to eye with them on the vision and the direction of the organization. I wasn't what I signed up for. And so it was time for me to go. I couldn't actually it didn't align internally with my beliefs and my values anymore. And it wasn't that it just was, I don't want to get into it. It's complicated because the organization I worked for was complicated, but the direction of the organization changed substantially, and it just no longer aligned with me. So I quit the boss because the boss had a different vision and a different idea and a different direction. And I think that happens a lot, especially around organizational change.
Yeah, my story is very similar to yours. I think it took a long time to realize too that I could just quit. I could leave. I remember you and I were sitting one night, and I was getting to a point where I was quite emotional coming home from work, and that isn't typically who I am, if you know me, and you were the one who said, well, why are you staying there? We're talking about the same thing week in and out, and it's not getting better, and there's no real path forward here. And I feel like a light bulb went on.
Yeah, and I'll the other thing that was happening for you at the job, I think the level of stress you were kind of facing as a result of all of it is, we were sort of had some challenges in terms of getting pregnant. We were trying to get pregnant at the time, and literally the doctor was like, everything was fine. What's your stress level? And that was like the aha moment of, oh, maybe this isn't good. And sure enough, you quit that job, and we were pregnant pretty quickly. And then, then the stress level really began, because we were, trying to run a business with twins and whatever. But that's a whole nother story. But, I wanted to raise that because I think that when it comes to quitting, we really need to trust our gut and our intuition and the feelings inside of us. And when it's not sitting right and it's time to go. I think this comes down to, who you are as a person and what aligns with you and what vibes, what sort of vibes with you. If it's not vibing with you and it's making you literally physically ill, then you really need to you need to listen to those signs, I guess is what I'm saying. You need to take care of you before anything else. And sometimes I think it can feel like, I can't quit. I have this job. It's this money. I need this and that. But when you quit, other opportunities that will present themselves to you. They'll open themselves up to you. But if you're in that position there, you're in kind of a negative space and you're not doing well, you don't see those possibilities. But as soon as you sort of step away, and this is obviously, we're talking about quitting a job, but I think this is quitting many things. And I think for me, I've been in situations where I'm working towards something and it's just making me crazy. It's making me exhausted. It's burning me out. And then I just stop. And all of a sudden I have new energy and I feel great. And I'm all of a sudden pursuing something else popped up. So I think, not to get religious or philosophical, but when you sort of close one door, other doors open, and the world will always kind of provide. But I think you need to give yourself that opportunity to allow yourself to be open to those other possibilities. And when you're stuck here, you can't focus here.
Yeah, I think that what's, similar to you, I mean, I'm going to use the example of me leaving this job. It's those conversations and making things seem real, because I think we have a lot of internal dialogue, right? We talk ourselves out of things all the time. We talk ourselves into things all the time, but saying things out loud really solidifies them. And for a good 4 to 6 weeks before I handed in a letter of resignation, I had conversations with people I trusted, conversations with other consultants, conversations with, other people in marketing and communications, where, at that point, I knew I was going to consult, as the interim, but there was still this piece of me that didn't know, is that, going to look for another job? Is that, I the first 3-4 months that I did this full time, I was going on job interviews and I was exploring that route, and I was subcontracting, and I was trying to contract on my own too. But in those 4 to 6 weeks of conversations, it became real. It wasn't just, I'm thinking about doing this. The first conversation definitely was. I remember sitting down with both of our mutual friends, Lee Funky, who's a PR consultant himself. And at the time it was I think I'm going to do this. By the end of that hour-long conversation in the lobby of the Westin in Calgary, it became well, I guess I am doing this. And, conversations that followed that were about, okay, what are the next steps? And I just think those conversations, and, 100% you need to show up for yourself, and you need to make the decisions for yourself. But when you're in this situation of quitting, I do think that there's power in that commitment, making it with someone else. Saying about the gym too, like, going to a class with a friend, or, having a personal trainer, right? Now you've made an appointment and you're trying to show up, not only so you don't get penalized monetarily, but like because someone's waiting for you and counting on you. And, I think there's power in that connection, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and quitting is an interesting topic, because I'm going to say something probably pretty contradictory here, but like quitting is an extremely important and healthy thing to do, but most people quit way too early on most things. So and so obviously, I think that the difference or the distinction between those two things are, when you quit when it was the right time to quit, in your gut and your heart that it was the right time to quit. When you quit and it was too early, you probably have regret, and you probably, are having a negative internal dialogue with yourself, and you're probably like, whatever. So, and it's like, it's not like there's like a, like a magical line of everybody knows where that line is. It's a very complicated topic, but, a lot of people, I would say that, people give up too early a lot, and quit too early quite often, and they don't even give themselves a chance to get going, right? And they talk themselves into, let's use the gym as an example, is, oh, this is hard and I don't feel like it and my legs hurt, and every excuse, and here's a piece of mud pie, and then off you go in the wrong direction, and then you're gonna live kind of with a lot of regret, and you're gonna feel kind of like this like inner fight with yourself and whatever. But then there's also the not quitting early enough and taking something to a point where, basically, it's like you keep digging the hole that you need to stop digging type of thing, right? And so again, it's sort of it's an interesting concept, because I think the only person that knows where the right line is you internally, and whether you've kind of given it everything you needed to or not, and that's something every one of us has to live with ourselves, obviously, as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I think of clients now, so kind of this transition to, okay, we quit something, we have things to say there, but we've kind of reached this phase, and I think we've dabbled in it for a number of years, where, we're making decisions about who our clients are. I think about kind of two two unique probably cases. One was early on. I think this was, now thinking it was definitely pre-pandemic. So I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, where, we weren't obviously as big as we are now. Our cost structures were different. But we quit a client, and it was after actually I was feeling fine about the client. A staff member, she's no longer with us, had come to me and said, I've got some big concerns about this client, and here's some conversations I had, and here's, what I think, and this and that. And I kind of look back at that situation, and 100% I don't regret it. I think one thing our team will say is that, I have their backs no matter what. And so in this circumstance, it was okay, yeah, let's leave it behind. Now looking back and knowing what I know about operations and in team, and, probably the right answer there, given that, while this staff member had some issues and maybe some conflicts of interest, there definitely wasn't any sort of big red flag from a CIPR perspective. And probably the right answer there was to switch project managers.
Right.
So to your point about quitting too early, again, I don't regret it, because it is what it is, and it was a small contract, and we've obviously moved on. But it is when I reflect on and I go, I think I could have handled that differently had I had different experience. And
Yeah.
then I feel like you'll know this more recent one that I'm thinking of. We, at the end of our calendar year in 2022, we made a huge decision to not renew with one of our major clients. And we definitely didn't quit them too early. We were going into our third consecutive year. It was our, third contract renewal with them. We did incredible work with them, in my opinion. Launched new brands, built some really incredible programming and content, saw really incredible results on digital marketing. But for me in operations, and even for you, when you're getting dragged back into client work, I think it becomes this really big sign to us that something's wrong. But they were all we were ever hearing about. And it was really came down to just a values misalignment. We had spent going on 3 years with these people, and the trust wasn't there. I feel like, like any relationship, work, client, marriage, friendship, if there's no trust, you have nothing. And for whatever reason, couldn't get there with them. And it was a headache. And, you and I made the decision to say, hey, we're not going to pursue renewal anymore. And we were in the thick of kind of contract negotiations, which again, at the third year should be easy. But was feeling really gross. And I think it surprised them quite a bit. I think you and I both had some, shock to deal with for a week that we had done that. I think it was like the first people would say, how are you? And we'd both be like, we just, didn't renew a contract with one of our biggest clients.
But I think
it was a big thing, but you look at it, to your point about putting things out there, we took that away, and we never even felt that revenue drop, right? We had stuff lined up. We all had our time refocused and spent on bigger and better things.
Yeah. We had time to grow our other clients that we had to, I don't want to say neglect, but certainly got less attention as a result of all the attention that this one client took. And to your point of, we actually went through several project managers with them, and sort of came to a place really where I was like, we have nobody else to assign to this client, and nobody else wants to project manage this client anymore. Like, we've gone through everybody. And so again, it was like very clear. Yeah, it was time to quit that client. And and I think we're getting better and better. And that back to intuition, I think with clients, I'm getting better at knowing intuitively that this client's just not going to be a fit for us, and that it's time to move on, and actually like making that decision at the right time. Obviously, again, you need to put the right amount of effort. You need to do all the things. It's not just like, oh, not going to be a fit. Bye. It's, you need to do all the things and put all the efforts in and try and get through, go through all the pain. But then in my gut, I know now, I think I have a better sense now of like, you know what, this just isn't going to be a fit for us culturally. And that's really what it comes down to 99% of the time. And I would even say more than that, it comes down to really trust, and the speed of trust. And to your point, if you can't build trust in a reasonable amount of time with a client, then you're probably never going to build trust. And they may have trust issues as a company, values what, like, right? Like, who knows? Like, it's not, there's all kinds of reasons and all kinds of things. And maybe they have a bad culture where they don't trust each other internally, and therefore they don't trust their contractors. I mean, there's a lot of factors. But, you know, our gut sort of, and whereas, you know, other clients, it's like, boom, instant trust, you're moving forward, you're in 3 months, you're doing amazing things together, right? And it's this, like, you can just see it's such a drastic difference, right? Yeah, so yeah, it's and same thing I think with I mean, quitting in terms of like initiatives as a company. You know, I'm the ideas guy, and I've brought forward my share of ideas that were probably just distractions, and didn't work. But we've put in efforts and tried things and whatever, and that's an okay thing to do. And I think it's made us better and it's made us learn. But certainly, you know, it's like there's times, again, I'm going to use in sales, for example, there's certain types of sales tactics that just don't sit well with me. And I know I could tell in my gut that it's like, this is not going to be the way I want to do things long term. And so I want to stop doing this. Right. And so, again, for me, quitting is all about sort of your gut and your intuition, and sort of what feels right inside, no matter really what the context is.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like quitting has such a bad connotation, but it's really good. I'm just looking at my Audible because there was one book I read. It's called Quit. It's by Annie Duke, and it's a really I highly suggest it. I listened to it actually in December as we were, you know, thinking about this client, and it really led me down a path to, you know, make that change and make that break. And there's a book I'm listening to right now. Peter and I are big fans of a doctor out of the UK named Chatterjee. And I'm listening to The Stress Solution right now. And, you know, a lot of what he talks about is removing things, right? We live in a high stress society, and all of these little bells and whistles cause stress. And so if you can do things like, you know, for me, once the kids are in bed, I quit my phone, right? My phone stays up in the office until the next morning. I don't check it before I go to bed, even. By 8 o'clock, it's done for the day. And so I think even those like little things in our personal life, you know, the quitting of the doing that one bad habit. And again, it's easier said than done, but you know, I think, you know, try to flip quitting into a positive.
I think quitting is actually in that context, probably the most powerful thing in a human's capability or ability. I think you and I, Christina, both have kind of gone through a process of elimination recently, in terms of like elimination diets. You had some sort of dietary health related things going on. So we started eliminating things and quitting things. And, you know, I'm now a intermittent faster. So I've quit breakfast and I've quit eating 3 times a day. I've quit my belief that that was, you know, printed into my brain about, you know, must eat 3 square meals a day. That's like, that's all bullshit. Like, that's all. And I realize that now because I did it, because I quit, because I stopped, and I stopped doing those things. And now I realize on my own. And so I think sometimes, you know, quitting or just stopping doing things for a little while, and again, seeing how they feel in your gut, is such a powerful thing to do. And it's such an incredibly empowering thing to do. And really helps you to really actually kind of get in touch with yourself and learn really what you need as a human to feel good and to do good and to whatever, right? So yeah, I'm really with you in terms of, I think quitting from a stress perspective is like probably, you know, same thing, like go through your phone and quit and delete apps. You know what I mean? Like I quit Facebook recently because it's like there's no value there for me. I hate, like, every time I go in there, I'm like, eh. So I just quit the app. Like literally and then I deleted it off my phone and I don't go there anymore. And it's great. I quit Twitter a few years ago and my life feels so much better, right? So yeah, quitting's such a broad and interesting topic. And I think there's so much power individually as humans in quitting. sort of all of the little things that we don't even realize that we're doing sometimes, that are probably just like eating away at us and causing stress and making us unhealthy.
It's true. And I think what I'll, say to kind of bring it back to business as we close off is, the one thing I'm reflecting on and been reflecting on this for the last month is what are the things I can quit doing every day that is not allowing us to grow as a business and me as an individual, right? Like there is a lot of stuff that, to your point of the lies you tell yourself, I have to do this task. Has to be me. Nobody else could possibly do this task but me. Well, like one, who do I think I am? And two, I need to quit that because probably that 4 hours I spend doing that task every month, maybe it can be done by someone quicker, probably. And two, it's like, can I fill that 4 hours a month with some, really strategic growth mindset activities for our business and move us forward? So that is the big thing I'm grappling with right now is, and I joke internally that I'm giving myself a promotion, but like you cannot promote yourself within an organization, or you receive a promotion until you have successfully shown your ability to delegate things off your plate. Because a promotion should never mean adding more stuff. It should be adding responsibility, but it shouldn't be adding stuff. So
I think if I'm going to leave similar kind of thought, but I guess I'm going to call it my entrepreneurial pro tip. Quit letting your ego get you in your own way. I think a lot of people get in their own way. And so if there's one thing that I would advise anybody and everybody to do is really think hard about how you can quit getting in your own way. And there's a lot, that's a loaded concept, but I think there's a lot to unpack there of value in terms of an entrepreneur running a business. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Things that you think that nobody else can do, absolutely somebody else can do. And where can you actually spend your time to add the most value and be the best for your employees, your business, your life, your kids, and everything. Good topic.
On that note, one thing I won't quit, you, Peter Pilarski.
Oh, thank you.
All right, tune in next time.
Bye.
Thank you for joining in for another episode of Two Babies in a Business. CIPR Communications is a public relations and digital marketing firm partnering with clients across North America to reach their brand reputation and lead generation goals. Follow us on social at CIPR Comms and check out our website ciprcommunications.com for more information. If you have questions or want to be part of a future podcast, reach out at media@ciprcommunications.com. I'm James Falls, CIPR's PR specialist, and I'm looking forward to our next episode. Subscribe on your Spotify or iTunes account so you don't miss the next one.